Welcome back to Newsroom. My name is Faheem Bangash. Welcome to our second segment of the program, which is regarding the coronavirus and the research of the infections in some countries of the world. We have online on the telephone line Dr. Rana, Jawad, Asghar, CEO, Global Health Strategists and Implementers, who's also a health expert. Doctor, welcome to PTV World.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting.
Lovely, sir. Now, sir, we know that this new variant, it's spreading in different parts of the world, especially if we talk about India, we talk about the US, we talk about China. What are the prospects of this particular variant spreading to other parts of the world?
Like any variant, not specific this variant, but any bacteria or viruses which get so much opportunities to spread and evolve over the time has the potential of creating many variants. And that's what is happening with COVID-19. And the virus which causes this COVID-19 is SARS-CoV-2. So my first lecture on this subject was, and we were told that infectious disease don't respect national borders. So that's going to happen. No matter what happens, variants will be produced, they will spread across the globe, and that's how we have seen. But just think about the original SARS-CoV-2, then Alpha, Delta, Gamma, and then Omicron. And now the Omicron is producing so many of its own subvariants. And that's because Omicron itself was much more infectious than Delta, which was much more infectious than the original one. So this is a more infectious, but we are not sure at this moment about is creating more mortality or morbidity at this time.
Also, sir, as we know that especially the environment in Pakistan, when Pakistan is not receiving any rainfall, and especially many of the viruses, as I have had conversations with some doctors in the hospitals who say that people have come with even swine flu H1N1, and also there is influenza, there are other viruses. How do you think the behavior of this virus, or subvariant of this virus, is going to be, especially in the presence of so many other viruses and infections?
So if we look at the evolution of SARS-CoV-2 different variants across the globe, what we see, a new variant comes, it replaces the dominant variant which is already there, and then just become dominant itself. And that cycle has happened multiple times, especially in Omicron, and not only Omicron and subvariants, but also the original variants. So that's a natural phenomena. Many variants will come and they replace the original one, and because the population develop immunity against whatever the prevalent variant is or virus is. So these are I won't say the living organism, because virus is on the borders of living and dead organisms. They try to have best for their next generations. So they evolve to become more successful in infecting us. And that's what all these variants are doing. But it's also, we should not fear it, but we should observe it and be ready for it.
Also, sir, according to the protocols which have been shared, that this particular subvariant will not be, we will not be able to detect it on the swab, in the swab test. So does Pakistan have the capability and the technology for the detection of this subvariant?
So if I look again at the global level, the numbers which are reported on a daily basis are not the real numbers of the cases in any country, So because very few people who know they have COVID-19 now normally don't go for a test, official test. Sometimes they will have those rapid tests and they get tested at home and they know they are COVID positive or not. But about the capabilities of Pakistan, I think Pakistan has the capacities, if it does not have the kits at this moment, can quickly acquire those and start testing for these variants. And that's our weak area, what we call the genomic sequencing, in which we want to have a clear understanding of which variants are spreading in Pakistan, and in which population and which area, which variant is dominant as compared to others, because all the control strategies which we devise depend heavily on that information. And at that area, even though we were doing genomic sequencing, it is still below the expected level.
Also, sir, we have seen that as the virus evolves, we see a difference in the symptoms as well. So, has there anything has been shared with you people or the doctors' fraternity as far as what the course of treatment is going to be like?
So the treatment is the same as the previous variants or subvariants are. So nothing changes there. The issue is this, that it's not only the COVID-19 different variants are infecting people, but also at this moment flu has spread across, and it has peaked in Western Hemisphere, and it may be peaking in next month or so in our part of the world. So the cases of COVID-19 symptoms could either be COVID-19 or either could be flu or either could be other respiratory diseases, viruses, which are very common in these winter months. So our job should be to, if we have flu-like symptoms, and that's the broader term I'm using, then we should at least stay home, protect ourselves, and try to limit our infection to other members of our household or in offices. So
I think the SOP,
yeah. So anyone who has flu-like symptoms in these days should don't come to offices or don't go to schools, because you can infect others, irrespective it is flu, irrespective it is other respiratory infections, or irrespective it is COVID-19. The death, the mortality of all three is different, but all three have mortality, especially in younger adults for respiratory diseases and elder population for COVID-19, flu and respiratory diseases. So the elder population should, try best to stay protected by improving inside building ventilations.
So I think the overall SOPs remain the same even for this subvariant. Also now, we have heard talks about getting flu shots in many of the people in my fraternity. I've heard especially the elderly people and even in the children in the pediatric community as well. They are mentioning getting the flu shots. Perhaps it will decrease the severity of the symptoms. Is that why it's back in the talks?
So as we have seen that, anyone who is above 50 or 60 is vulnerable for the serious complications of COVID-19 plus flu. So these are the vulnerable populations you have. So it's always recommended, and in West there is a huge compliance of yearly flu vaccine. Every year that vaccine is changed, because the new strains of viruses come, so it's updated, and every year a new version is released. So in Western world, it's a routine for elder population, but in our part of the world, this is not common. But if you have, people who are elder and living with you, encourage them to get the flu vaccine. Again, like COVID-19 vaccine, it's being used for, I would say, decades with no side effects, but still protect hospitalization and death in elderly population. Same is the situation for COVID-19.
Also, Dr. Saab, you mentioned that with each passing stage of the virus as it evolves, the next stage is more worse than the previous stage. It's more malignant than the previous stage. So, do you think that we are perhaps moving towards another overall global lockdown?
No. Number one, with every new evolution of virus, it does not necessarily becomes more dangerous. It
Right.
can become milder. It can become in Omicron's scene. What we have seen, that it has become more infectious. That means it can easily infect other people as compared to the original one. But it's not more lethal, so it is not more deadly as compared to other variants which came before that. So this is like, roll of dice in the virus evolutions. Sometimes they become dangerous, but many times they become milder version, because the objective of virus is not to kill everyone, because if human die, they will die themselves. So they try to achieve an equilibrium where they can flourish and we as a host can also live, because if we die, the virus dies with us. So I think that's a fine balance. But now, after 3 years of pandemic, most of the global population has been infected and vaccinated both. So there is a lot of, I would say, immunization, natural and human-made, have been done, and so it's there will be spikes of cases will come, just like that's happening in China, in other countries also. But we are not moving towards global shutdown, at least at this moment, whatever the information I have.
Right, and also I remember when COVID-19 first came, we were hearing the statement that perhaps this is something that we're going to have to live with, just like we live with a flu or we live with other benign diseases that we get time and again. So this is something that perhaps we'll have to live with in the future and even the coming generations. Is that true?
When people were saying this in the beginning of pandemic, that was dangerous, because at that time we were not prepared. So we were not vaccinated. We didn't know what are the best way to treat this disease. Now, after 3 years, we have some very effective medicines. We have some therapies available to us. Majority of population has been vaccinated and boosted, and they got boosted. So now we are ready to live with the virus. So it depends on at what stage you declare that you are ready to live with the virus. But in the end, as the virus we have seen is continuously evolving, so it's better to control the spread of virus, and by just improving ventilation, which is now most of the Western countries are focusing on, to limit its spread. Because our objective should be that we should limit its spread. And just to give you an example, like 100 years ago, cholera was a major problem for the England at that time, and it was killing thousands of people in central London and other places. And if we just try to live with cholera, just think about what would have happened. We controlled the cholera by effective intervention of clean water. Similarly, now we need clean air to control the spread of this COVID-19, to be really safe, so that it does not have opportunities of evolution, which happens through its widespread transmission. So once we do that, we will be in a much better position.
And so one last question, just to make myself and the viewers more clear. If someone wants to get tested and according to information and reports, it does not get detected on the normal PCR test or the swab test, how will a person get tested for it in order to know whether he or she has it or not?
So at the patient level, we are advising this from the day one, that you don't need to get tested. If you think you have COVID-19, assume you have a COVID-19 and take all the precautions. Even all the best tests are never 100% good in detecting those cases. But if there is a outbreak spreading, this is the standard operating procedures. If you have a symptom of the disease, consider you are suffering from that disease and take all precautions and take all the treatments.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar, for being with us and for giving us your time, especially quite an informative session that we had with you. Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar, CEO, Global Health Strategist and Implementers, was talking to us regarding the new subvariant of coronavirus. And now, moving on to our third segment. As we know that today is the 27th of December. Today is the martyrdom anniversary of Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto. And with reference to that, the Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, he made a tweet that Pakistan today is observing the martyrdom anniversary of Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto Shaheed, a crusader for human rights and democracy. And she left an indelible mark on the politics of the country, and the void left by her absence has widened over the years, and he's quite right as far as democracy is concerned, because we know how Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto Shaheed gave her life for the supremacy of the constitution, for the supremacy of democracy in the country. We know that Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, he also issued a video message on the occasion and invited people for a public rally, and I'm sure you people did witness the public rally as well, some parts of it on our channel as well. And Bilawal said that we draw inspiration from her heroic struggle against dictatorship and extremism, and it's ironic how she worked against extremism, and she became a victim to extremism when she was holding a huge public gathering in Rawalpindi, and she was shot by the terrorists in the head and was martyred on this very day about 15 years ago in Rawalpindi. And former President Asif Ali Zardari also said that no one else faced the difficulties that Shahid Benazir had faced for the sake of constitution and democracy. It was, particularly speaking, it was in Liaqat Bagh, Rawalpindi, where she held that huge public gathering, and she was waving to the crowd of supporters when she was shot in the head. Benazir Bhutto had written a lot of books as far as democracy is concerned. She had written her own autobiography, and we know that this family has had to suffer a lot, and it's quite brave, I must say, of Benazir Bhutto Shahid to be the first female Prime Minister in the Muslim world. And of course, she was not just the pride of Pakistan, she was the pride of the entire Muslim world. And of course, the recruiting and training of army of 50,000 women, she was the one who initiated it. She brought the healthcare to the doorstep of every Pakistani woman. The Lady Health Worker program, which tackled problems of infant and maternal mortality, the reproductive health and population control, it was initiated by Benazir Bhutto Shahid. And now we have a little package which has been prepared as far as Benazir Bhutto Shahid is concerned. Let's take a look at that.
Women and their myriad roles. Talents are intrinsic for fabric of every society. The miraculous rise of Benazir Bhutto inspired millions of others all around the globe, not just with her unbelievable ascent to power, but also her charm, her political intellect, and her personality that refused to cower before the toughest of opponents. Being first female head of the government of a Muslim country, she continues to motivate women and marginalize both in Pakistan and abroad, and remains a symbol of hope. Known as the daughter of the East, her brilliance is acknowledged worldwide. She was a brilliant student and excelled in oratory at Harvard and Oxford, inspiring not just minds but also connecting hearts. She was a progressive visionary and tried to implement her vision during her tenure in the office and actualized the phrase that women can have it all by giving birth while also being the Prime Minister. Benazir Bhutto set up the Lady Health Worker program that has become the backbone of family healthcare system across Pakistan. Some of her achievements came to light and were acknowledged after her death, as is the case with the posthumous United Nations Human Rights Prize conferred on her in 2008. Her courage and defiance, her resilience to rally on even in the face of death threats and terrorist attacks have overwhelmed many democratic movements. A shrewd politician and a committed family woman, Benazir has a legacy that refused to die down with her.
Indeed, it's a dark day for all of us, and indeed, her legacy will continue. That's all the time we have for today. We will meet inshallah tomorrow. Stay tuned to PTV World. Keep watching PTV World.